Welcome back to Cocktail Cinema, folks, the weekly movie review podcast where we watch movies and pair them with craft cocktails. As always, I am your first favorite bartender, third favorite author, Josh Price, and I am joined by my co-host, Greg, and our producer, Shasti.
Hello.
Damn glad to be here.
How are we doing, gentlemen?
Doing well.
I am very happy to be here tonight because this is one of those times that we get to review a quintessential film from film history because we are watching Seven Samurai this week.
Oof.
This movie came out in 1954. It was directed by the legendary Akira Kurosawa. It had a budget of $1.1 million and a box office return of $3.1 mil.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that rule of making back 3 times your budget, almost made it there. So we can classify this as a box office success. But beyond that, it's definitely a major success as far as filmmaking for the rest of time.
For everybody else.
Yeah.
Can we touch back on the profit and cost? So at this time, it was like a $70,000 budget for any Japanese film. They went over by it was $500,000 before they finished it. So that alone sets the tone for this movie, and they wouldn't back off of it.
No, not at all.
Kurosawa we went fishing.
Yeah.
You want to shut me down? Come on, I'll go fishing. Check
So
me out.
the probably the famous story about the making of this movie is, I want to say about halfway into production, the studio tried to interfere and try to change some things, and Kurosawa knew that they had invested a large portion of the budget already, so they weren't going to not make the movie. So anytime they wanted to change something, he would just pack up and go fishing. He brought a fishing rod every day to the set.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You want to wait? You want to stop?
They're filming in the Japanese countryside. There's plenty of places.
And
to
they've
fish.
already put whatever 2/3 of the amount of money into the film to get started, or halfway through it. I mean, this movie took a year to film. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It took every ounce of energy for them.
Yeah.
Not to leave.
Yeah.
But Kurosawa, go fishing.
Well, and I mean, he's a major name in filmmaking to begin with.
Right.
But this is 4 years out from Rashomon, and this is possibly the film he's most known for, and for good reason. We're talking about a film that changed American filmmaking, not just in westerns but in general. We've got styles here that are really boiled down and blended together. We've got a little bit of a love story. We have that Western style. We've got just Japanese filmmaking in general. Right. Is represented very well here.
Plus the drama that goes into everything and the human condition. I mean, it really touches on every aspect and point of class. Differences in class and society. That it holds true then, and like I said, the human condition. They really draw that into everything.
The dramatic standpoint is conveyed through every battle scene and act, because this is one of the greatest action movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. As a genre, as it stands, and we'll get into it later, but it's shot very differently than all the flash and the flare that you see in modern day action movies, where you lose. It barely scratches the surface on a substance level or how it relates to. It could be something as stupid as a Camaro transforming to impress Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Where every single action scene here conveys so much emotion.
And every scene in general,
Mike,
we were talking, every scene in general, you look at, you pause at any point in time in this movie, it's a photo masterpiece, as far as how it's shot and where everything lays out. And like I said, like Shasta said, we're gonna talk about that. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's those emotional hits, it's an action movie, it's a war movie, but it really is diving in to what these events are doing to these people.
Right.
And I mean, this is a long movie. This is a 3.5 hour long movie.
It's an epic.
And you feel it. And it's intentionally that long to where
it has to be.
Yeah. Where the build up, the build up to this siege essentially is you're slowly being brought in, and you're getting more anxious, and then we do have that release of the action scene, But given the way it plays out, number one, it's somewhat anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And it's also that's another emotional hit because you know you're losing people, and it's like, okay, well we succeeded in eliminating these bandits, but at what cost?
I know what you mean by that for sure. I mean, you said anticlimactic, and I feel like that's how kind of war is in general. You know, I mean, there are these huge victories and these battles won. Yeah. But at what cost? You know, so I mean, you can't celebrate without taking defeat at the same time. This movie envelops so well, and we talk to characters and stuff. It needs that much time to take hold and to grab you by your heartstrings. And I know every one of these samurai. You know what I mean? I know the main characters of the farmers. Yeah. I mean, you're engrossed in this, and it pulls at you. And it's like I said, those are always my favorite qualities of a movie. Is seeing the character growth
development,
and it takes time.
An arc, and
it takes.
It's like Godfather we've done. I mean, it needs that. It needs that
room to breathe.
So I mean, what's cool? They did an intermission. 5-minute intermission, which is nice. But no,
I definitely needed to make some more popcorn at that point. You know, because it's. I mean, I did it all in one.
It's kind of like
in
two
one
different
sitting,
movies. Honestly, they're kind of two different movies. So first scene or first chapter or whatever you want to call it, is basically the farmers. Yeah, and
the search
and
for
their
the samurai.
strife and that, and once that's set in stone, now it's chapter 2, or end scene of now it's the samurai are there, and it flip flops. You know,
second set.
Right. No encore, but no, I mean this movie triggers on every situation.
Well, it really pounds home the concept that in war no one wins. There's only losers and those who lose more.
Yeah.
So.
They bookend that really nicely.
They do.
The last battle.
They really do.
And even verbally, they even they call it and say it. I think you know it better than I do. That last.
Yeah. So after the battle, we've got our main guy and his friend who he's known for years. They're 2 of the 3 surviving samurai at the end,
and plus the kid.
Yeah, the kid's one of the 3.
Oh yeah.
And it's just the 2 of them standing there watching the town celebrate, and he's not like, oh, we won, we did it. He goes, once again we survive, and that is profound.
And then they pan to the town, and they're singing and doing their,
and it's cutting back and forth between their celebration and
it's
the
their
graveyard.
victory. It's their victory, not theirs. All they see is they lost 4 samurai. They lost 4 brothers. So I mean, it's on every level it attacks. Like it's a 360 view of the, like I'll say, human condition again. I've already said it like 4 times, but I mean that's what it comes down to in this movie. It's a great way to put this.
Yeah, and I mean, to circle back to that character development, there's like my boy in this movie is Kuchio.
Yeah,
like he's the guy who's not really a samurai, but he wants so much to be one that he comes along despite the fact they tell him to stay home.
Right,
and he's made fun of for being so brash and not really living by the samurai lifestyle. But by the end,
right.
Well, he was. I mean, the actor was also a hot shot in Japan.
He was.
So
he really was.
They were going to show that body. Yeah. But he develops a brotherhood with these guys.
Well,
and by the end of it, he is buried with the samurai.
Yeah.
They give him a hilltop grave and they put his sword.
Because
in
of that final scene where he went in, he was shot in the gut, and he still pushes through and kills the final. That final.
I still shed a tear.
Yeah.
Right,
just one manly tear, but I do shed a tear.
He's proven himself even when he was following them or leading the way. He's shown his worth by grabbing fish out of the stream.
Yeah,
being not only a natural leader, but not always in the right way. But
he's a lunatic.
But that was
so great.
That was like that had to be the ending of his story because he was the baby in the raided village. He wasn't a samurai.
Yeah,
it's a huge scene right there.
He
for
was
sure.
That's like you kind of know. That's how it's going to end for him, but after the 3 hours and 27 minutes,
it hurts so much.
For sure, and especially how he carried the storyline so much, especially that iconic scene in this movie where he brings back a lot of the armor and swords and stuff from past samurai that these farmers have already killed that were wounded, and so he's like, "What are you doing?" The samurai's like, "What are you doing? Like these are fallen samurai." And he's like, well, they have them stored here. So now these samurai want to kill the villagers.
Yeah.
Because of their, they took down their brothers. He's a farmer, it turns out, a born farmer, and he goes absolutely apeshit. It's like, what do you mean? What right do you have to want to kill them? They did this for a reason, from protection, because of defending themselves from being pillaged and raped and stolen.
Because before the bandits, it was you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see that on all of those samurai. They're like especially
Kembe. Like he has that
face.
moment.
Yeah.
And he's so level-headed throughout this entire film.
I love it.
And to have that where he has this subtle fury on his face when he first sees the armor and he's sitting on the floor. And then as Kuchio really lays out the reality of the situation, he slowly puts his head down, and it's just like he doesn't say a word.
Yep.
The shame is just so beautifully acted.
Yeah.
And it
tugs. I agree, and I think that what's funny, because everybody thinks of these samurai as huge warrior types. You know, as far as what's been seen on film before.
Yeah.
But it was really kind of a cool thing to see, like their humanity as well, like how they're willing to get along with the villagers and the smiles. Like, Kemba had like the biggest smile.
Dimples all the way to his ears.
You know, all of them. And you know, when Heihachi, he died. He's like the funny one.
Yeah.
Man, that broke my heart too, because he was supposed to be the one to bring him along and kind of.
Well, and there's another one of those like really profound one-liner, two-liners really, because you said he would. Yeah. He would be there in hard times, but the hard times have only begun.
Yep.
It's like, we lost one already.
For sure.
You know, and you know, you see the weight of every single action played out. Like Kuchio's pride gets people killed.
Yeah.
And
he knows it.
Yeah.
And he sits atop those graves, and he knew. I think he spent so much time during the movie on those grave sites of these fallen samurai, because he knew that's kind of where he was going to end up. I don't know. It kind of spoke to me, because it seemed like kind of a foreshadowing, because he spent so much time on those hills mourning, and almost, I feel like that's why he went so hard after he got shot, is almost like a pay your penance, you know, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are arcs, like Shasi said, where you know how they have to end.
Yep.
Like the end of Shane. That has to end that way. And Kuchio's arc has to end like this. And there's no way around it. Like what life does he have after this? He's still not a samurai.
Right.
He's just a wandering warrior. And sure, he'll probably still, you know, walk with Kembe and the boys, but he will never really be one of them in the eyes of the culture.
Right.
You know, we see a lot of those cultural moments, you know, come across the screen, like Shino, the villager's daughter, you know, and her father's shame that she hooked up with the samurai because they were of different class. Like you're damaged. He flat out says you're damaged goods. No one's gonna want you.
Right.
And you know, and then we've got Rikichi's wife, you know, who her shame, where when they first bring the fight to the bandits and they go to their hideout. And Rikichi realizes his wife is in the building.
It's funny, the scene's like actually on right now. We have it playing on view right now. Sorry to cut you off. I'm watching you as you're explaining it. Like.
And he sees his wife, and he's happy for a moment. He's like, oh, I'm going to get her back. But then you remember, this is Japan in the 1500s.
Yeah.
So her shame in her eyes is insurmountable. Right. So when she's freed, rather than return to her husband, she goes back into the burning building to die.
And she did have that droned out opiate look on her face though too, where obviously she wasn't there under her own reconnaissance.
Part
she
of the
just got
shame
to
too,
right?
Yeah, everything else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, and this is, I mean, historically, probably the beginning of the opium problem in Asia, you know, where it was
maybe
really becoming an issue. Like,
a lot of the Brits had a lot of shit in the 70s came from Asia.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's all. You're right. It is opium. So.
But yeah, this is such an emotional movie, and it really rolls over you in waves.
Yeah.
Now, for a really sweaty transition. What else rolls over you in waves? Is this delicious drink I've made you, gentlemen?
Dude, it's looking so good.
I've been sipping on it this whole time. All right, so I'm calling this the Red Ronin. It's a variation on a mule. Greg kind of turned me onto this one because he brought a few things to the table. So we have 2 ounces
Your
of
10th favorite bartender.
You can take fourth. You can take fourth. This is 2 ounces of a Japanese vodka, so it's rice-based rather than like potato or grain-based.
Or corn.
3/4 of an ounce of green tea, half an ounce of lime juice, and then about 3 ounces of a hibiscus ginger beer.
Yeah.
And pour it over rocks. Give it a quick stir. There you are, gentlemen.
Pinky up.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's got good body. I know you guys aren't necessarily mule guys, but
I'm not.
I do love a good mule. And this is a very, very good variation of a mule. Yeah.
glad to hear it. Nice collab, Grego. Nice collab.
You got it.
All right, so back to the collaboration between these 7 Ronin, which, truth be told, they are Ronin. Mm-hmm. In Japanese culture, so a samurai is a warrior with a master, and they were highly regarded. And a Ronin was masterless. So whether that was they left their master due to a disagreement, or if they were shamed and forced to leave,
right?
These guys are now swords for hire.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm explaining this is this movie was, again, made in the 50s. And this is the rise, or the second coming of the Western movement in American film. And before this, Westerns tended to be the the Americans are here, they're going to be great, the army's here, the cowboys are always the good guys. And this film really influenced the way we depicted our cowboy heroes, because, like I said, Shane is a good example of a tarnished hero. He was a bad guy at one point, and it really changed the way we looked at character, not characters, but like the character of our characters. It allowed us to really look at the depth of who these people would be in reality.
Right.
And so
set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
As far as all that.
The highest.
And it changed American film forever. So you can draw
ways.
a line. Yeah, you
multiple,
can draw a line to
ways.
the way we make Westerns. You can draw a line to honestly, Deadpool. It'd take me a minute, but I can get there. I can get there. Because the concept of the anti-hero comes from the concept of the Ronin. Like, yes, there were anti-heroes, but when you think about classical anti-heroes, they tended to be characterized more like Greek gods, where they are above reproach. Even their reproachable actions can't be touched. Whereas this movie's like, no, your actions have consequences. So that character of the anti-hero really went through a metamorphosis with this film.
Yeah.
And then there's the adaptations and the inspired works.
Yeah,
like
tons of them.
Magnificent Seven, I believe, was
Star
6 years
Wars,
later.
I mean,
Star Wars,
Bugs Life.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's and almost every major sitcom has done a Seven Samurai inspired episode.
Yeah.
And I think that not only were we talking about characters, but camera work in general and shot scenes. I mean, we're talking about a movie that set the tone for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very clear right off the bat.
Ahead of its time. And
Right off the bat, right?
more ways than one as far as all the cinematography goes.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking at it right now, like to get a shot with all the townspeople, even just like you picture one of the bar scenes or like hostel scenes, or just like where there's just 8 samurai in the house, or they're all smashed together in one frame, and it's to convey this emotional aspect of this too. You know what I mean? To show that they're all one with the community, and they're all fighting for survival in the same way. But like, look at these shots to get the flag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got to look at the cinematographer's name. Greg, you got it?
Yeah, I think I have it here. Asaku Nakai.
Right. So they use telephoto lenses because you can compress the background and smush in the village behind the raiders at the top of the hill.
Okay.
You can make it's the same thing as looking in your one mirror that says objects may appear closer in this mirror than the other mirror.
Yeah,
It's
manufactured
a different
aperture.
lens.
Yeah,
it's a zoom lens. So if we stand back and zoom in, the effect you get from the lens is a compression where the background is bigger. It's smushed into the foreground. So you get these larger than life and these like almost surreal aspect shots where you can see not only everybody in focus in the screen. Normally you just use a macro lens.
Yeah.
You get the 8 people in the shot in focus, and the rest of it might be a little blurry. You might have some bulk effect, or it's just going to be further back than this compression I'm talking about.
And I think that adds so much. Like you're saying,
it
the
gives
community, like everybody's working for the same reason. You're totally right, man.
like a comic book or a pop-up book where it gives that.
And to shoot any action scene with the telephoto lens like that, zoomed in from far away with the same to get the same aspect ratio, gives you when they're running, it gives you that. Greg asked me, he's like, "Was that sped
I was
up?"
gonna ask. It seemed like it's in fast forward at some of these fights, these action scenes for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just the.
And another look. Yeah. This is another thing that I was telling Greg about before. It's like
everything's in focus as you're even running.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So the brush, the trees.
There was a study that was done. It wasn't done until like the 80s, where they looked at just motion from a screen and the effect, positive or negative, that it has on the viewer. And it was confirmed that any shot where your characters are going from left to right kind of shows like heroism or power. Some like it's more triumphant than
Positive.
right to left, which it's just based on just writing and how you read. It has almost like a negative connotation attached to it. And this is something that is another reason why it's way ahead of its time. Is that study wasn't even done, but you can watch every scene in this. The raiders always come from right to left. The heroes or the
You're right.
villagers,
Even when they're coming down that funnel, every time they're coming down.
Everything. Yeah.
And the only time the
when
samurai
they let
run
them
right to left is when they're retreating.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's immediately after they run right to left, then they run left to right. You're exactly right, because
there's a lot of that.
It's a challenge. You can watch every scene and implement that rule, and you're right. That is the only way. Is if they just came from right to left, and then because they would let one in at a time throughout their battles before the last big battle, and they'd pick them off one by one. Even when Kemba, when he's picked off the bow and he's shooting him, he's facing left to right. And this is another thing how it's shot, and they tie emotion to every single bandit that dies, because you know that Kemba has the
sheet.
The
He's
sheet.
got them.
He's marking them
kill
off
list.
one by one. You can rewind every one of those check marks. There's a similar shot where it shows whether it's a samurai or a villager, the strike or the shot, and then it shows where
fall.
It doesn't show the fall. It shows where the lack of better words, bad guy is going to land, and he falls into frame.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
So this is something where we normally would use a macro lens or a fixed lens, and just you would see your hero running through a scene, slashing, boom, 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 and it's so jarring, and it's more about the
thrill of the kill,
the flair of the action,
right.
Where Akira ties in the emotion to every one of those deaths that's checked off.
And he stands behind it through the entire flick. You know what I mean? It's cool. Sometimes they kind of, I mean, we talked about, Star Wars, right? And Shasi also was saying about it's not a whiplash. A
wipe transition.
A wipe transition. So that's like what George Lucas is famous for. Is that
big time.
Next scene.
Big time.
I mean, George Lucas almost
rips it.
He took it.
He's very
People say he immortalized it.
Yeah.
He immortalized the wipe transition.
It was Kurosawa.
Going from the first time you see the Death Star back to Tatooine.
And it pushes the other scene out of the way.
And
again, left to right.
Kurosawa does this in the first sequence. I mean, he brought it up to me before. So it's like it's that shot he was talking about. Then it's that wipe scene, and then it's frame a little closer, frame a little closer, frame. Now you're there.
Of the hill where the one villager hears about.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean,
no, you're good.
I'm in awe. I mean, I this is the first time for me, but this movie sits on its own hill for sure. Like
absolutely, and it's a legacy film.
Yeah,
not just for Kurosawa, but for film history. This is one of those movies 100%. That I think it's gonna be no surprise when we get to our taco rating segment, but this is one that as a viewer you have to watch it. As an audience member, as a film student, you have to watch it. I mean, as someone who just consumes media,
insane how
you need to see this.
Wow, taking everything in is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But they make it. It's a 3.5 hour movie,
Yeah.
so they make it possible. But that's where I was saying the character growth and everything. Mm-hmm. It all plays in and it tugs at you, and without even knowing it, Kurosawa is just taking your brain over.
Absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Speaking of tacos, do you guys have any last thoughts before we get into rating?
I don't know if I do.
I think I'll save it for
the final
afterwards.
Maybe for the rating.
Yeah. Alrighty. So.
Ooh yeah.
Listen to that heavy beat.
All right.
Is that
It's all right. I like it a little. This deserves to be a little louder.
So Greg, I don't know if I've told you yet, but on this show we like to rate our movies out of 100 tacos. 0 being the worst, 100 being the best.
We record on Tuesdays, so Taco Tuesday all day.
fresh taco?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For Seven Samurai, what is your taco score?
This movie. Mm-hmm. So I have like a top 10 in my head already. Mm-hmm. We've covered 2 of them. So I have like a top 5, top 10.
Okay.
3 of these movies are foreign films now. This movie put me in my place as far as what I thought. What was movie? What is film? Still not my number 1, but I'm giving this movie 97 tacos. This is a creation.
Yeah.
It's not even just a film, not even a movie. It's a creation from above.
Excellent.
Hats off to Kurosawa. And thank you for everything.
Shasti?
Say 97.
97.
I'm gonna give Seven Samurai 97. I'm gonna give
It's
it
in my top 5 now.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy.
I know.
All right, I'm gonna give it 94 tacos.
Alrighty.
94. I think I've only rated one movie higher, and I'm not gonna say what it was. 'Cause I was really drunk. And it was only 95.
Hey, guess you'll have to go back and listen, right?
Yeah,
All right, find out. I am dead even with Greg on this one. This is a 97 for me. This is a top 10 films of all time movie,
all time.
if not a top 5.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Or what time frame you come from.
One of the greatest films ever made. Rotten Tomatoes has this to say.
Oh,
a critic score of 100.
Wow.
Perfect score. Have we reviewed a movie that was given a perfect score? I don't think so.
I think we've hit 99 a few times. I think like.
Yeah. No, we definitely haven't hit on.
No. So let me
we've done
ask
some
you this.
bangers.
Let me ask you this. So given that we all did rate it very high.
Yeah.
And this is 100 as the critics.
Yeah.
Too,
Do you see where these critics are coming from? Like, do you think they rated it, like, were they biased at all?
No,
I think it's
I think it being a foreign film, coming from the 50s, and Rotten Tomatoes still being in new age time with the internet and everything, I think it would be lower because of it's kind of not in the same time frame.
Yeah,
but
well, this critic score is including every rating that they can find from when it came out to now.
Yeah, I mean,
so this is
everybody gave 100 tacos.
What, almost 70 years of critiques.
I mean, geez.
I mean, I gave it my score, but I can see
they gave 100.
If someone says this is a perfect movie, I wouldn't argue with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
the margin's too close here to do our new segment, which is going to be did it deserve more or less than, regardless of our score, did it deserve more or less than the tomato meter, which is a solid 100 tacos.
Right. Well, and
only one way to
just for frame of reference, the audience rating is also a 97.
Yeah, which is crazy too.
This is clearly one of the best.
Yeah. It speaks.
This is
when I talk about character and heartstrings and it literally hits on every aspect of any film you ever could watch. It's got social distance, not social distance, social class segmentation. It's the character development, the love, the art, the action, the fast pacedness, the slow. Yeah, it's got everything. Everything is involved with this, and it's in black and white. And it's perfect.
And for us American viewers, it's a foreign film.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It is fighting tooth and nail for every ounce of that 100 rating. And you know what?
Yes.
Hats off to Kurosawa. Yes. Absolutely. And hats off to these actors, man. We didn't really touch on performances a whole lot, but I think it's because they're so natural and they are so good that They just play.
Yeah. And hats off to you, Josh.
Yeah.
Hats
well,
off to
my
you,
my
Mike.
hat's definitely off. I'm not wearing one today. Well, throwing it back to our audience, hop down in the comments and let us know what your taco rating would be for this movie. Do you agree with us? Why? Why not? And hit that like button if you'd like to engage. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll get notified every time we drop a new video. If you'd like to do more, you can always head on over to our Patreon. We don't have our entire collection on YouTube, but Patreon has absolutely everything we've done.
Everything.
Front
2
to
years
back.
now.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Getting there.
Coming up on an anniversary in a couple months here. That said, Greg, Shasti, thank you for being here. As always, it was a wonderful experience. I love this movie. I love being here with you guys. And audience, I love being here with you too, but pumpkin time, I gotta say goodbye.